Yeah, I think that's like the best idea. Yeah, I don't think no, I don't see it. Oh my god. Oh wait, you found out where you're supposed to teach when today? I was talking to people on Monday and they were like, we have no idea what this is. You know, if there'd be any way that And I don't know I know the one person that like got me hired there. I don't know who would I even ask to make sure that this is okay? But I guess people at Colorado probably also have some connections in Haskell, so maybe they're
Shane, no one has signed it. Cool.
Yeah. Yes, okay.
I now call this meeting of the Kansas State University Student Senate to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I want to begin our Student Senate meeting taking place on Thursday, November 30th, 2023 with a land acknowledgement. We recognize that the Kansas State University, as the first land-grant institution, stands on the ancestral lands of the Kaw people. Our state of Kansas is home to 4 federally recognized Native nations: the Iowa, Kickapoo, Prairie Band Potawatomi, and Sac and Fox. We must remember that the land serving as the foundation for this institution was and still is stolen land acquired by white settlers. We pledge our commitment to creating decolonized spaces at the university while advocating for the support and future success of Indigenous faculty, students, and staff at K-State. With that, Brady will take it away with our first roll call.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Atchison. Bellamy.
Here.
Biggs. Blood.
Here.
Broughton.
Here.
Bruckner.
Here.
Koch.
Here.
Compton. Cuesta.
Here.
Cup.
Here.
Dennis. Drotz.
Here.
Dunce.
Here.
Fogel. Glasscock.
Here.
Griffith.
Here.
Haynes.
Here.
Hartzell. Heatherman. Hesseltine.
Here.
Hoffmans. Hulse.
Here.
Hundley.
Here.
Jacobson.
Here.
Kirchen. Kidd.
Here.
Kermer. Kinsey.
Here.
Lilly. Long.
Here.
Lynn.
Here.
Mason.
Here.
Melcher.
Here.
Moore. O'Malley.
Here.
Was that Eric? Oury.
Here.
Pelton.
Here.
Peterson. Porter. Rios.
Here.
Rivard. Rodriguez Melendez. Rogers. Syed Carly.
Here.
Syed Nick.
Here.
Salmon.
Here.
Streetman. Strunk.
Here.
Sushanik.
Here.
West.
Here.
Wolf.
Here.
And Zacko. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Brady.
Thanks, Brady. We'll now move into our first open period. First up in first open period, we have Adam Walker.
I'll tell you what, this is an intimidating group here. This is the Brain Trust where it's all decided, right? So thank you all for having me. Adam Walker, I'm President and CEO of the K-State Alumni Association. So it's so great to be back. Originally from Kansas, Ulysses, Southwest Kansas, then moved to Manhattan when I was 13, and then came to K-State. I was a student athlete on the track team, walked on many years ago, earned a scholarship, had a great experience, a little busy. I probably wasn't as involved as you all, but had a great experience. And from there, worked in the admissions office for Dr. Bosco. Some of you guys may remember Dr. Bosco. And then worked for the KSU Foundation for several years before I finished my master's. Left K-State, went to UCF for a year in athletics. See, someone's a UCF fan there.
I'm from Orlando.
Ah, you're Orlando. There you go. I did not enjoy Orlando. It's a great place to visit, but it's hard to live there because it's like Groundhog Day. It's 85 and humid, and I like the seasons. So it's very humid. But then I moved to Memphis, another humid place. So we were in Memphis for 13 years, mostly in athletics. Got my doctorate there. Been adjunct professor for 10 years, so been able to teach a little bit. So I've kind of been able to work all around the institution, as you can tell, student affairs, admissions, fundraising, athletics, faculty. So this just seemed like a great fit for myself and my family. And so been back about 4 months. We'll say my wife, Rebecca, is a K-Stater. We met in Anderson Hall. We got married in the Alumni Center. So it is kind of a return. We got 2 daughters, and it's just great to be back. We're really excited. So a little bit about K-State Alumni Association. So we are one of 22 alumni associations in the country that are self-governed. And you all probably understand what that is. So we're a separate 501c3 nonprofit, completely separate entity from the university. So if you think about K-State, we're decentralized quite a bit, and there's some benefits and some pros and cons to that. The great thing for us being self-reliant, separate from the university, we're able to really focus on all generations of K-Staters. I like to say, if you think about it, we're probably the single entity that thinks about the K-Staters from cradle to grave, right? So we have the Junior Wildcats Club, from not student athletes, but kids that get to join the Junior Wildcats Club from 2 to 12. Some of you guys may have been involved in that. And so we partner with athletics there. We work with the Office of Recruitment and Enrollment Management to recruit students to K-State. So if you guys see the K-State license plates, that's generated by us, the Alumni Association. Proud to say we have a little over 13,000 license plates, and we outnumber the other school 2 to 1. So that's a big. I have a round of applause right there, right? Every time we can beat that other school. So we're really proud of that. That generates almost $600,000 in scholarship revenue that we were able to provide back every year. So $600,000 directly back to you all. So if you think about it, and then once you get here to K-State, we get you here, we want to be involved. And I think that's probably an area we can improve upon. I tell students all the time, come to the Alumni Association, come to the center. It's your center. We probably need to refresh it a little bit. It seems like it's kind of like a library when you go in. It's a little quiet, so trying to get more students over there. But it is a great place to study if you guys are looking for a place to study out of the way. The second floor library is terrific, but we also want to make it a little bit more lively. So come over, see us. We're going to probably have some classes there next semester. I've already talked to Leadership Studies about having some classes in the association, kind of very convenient. So from there, when you graduate, you become young alumni, and the great thing is the first year, your dean and your college actually pays for your membership to the association. So you get a 1-year membership paid by your college, and really you get several benefits from that. The K-Stater magazine, which is terrific, award-winning, it's 4 quarterly issues a year. And then you just be able to get connected with K-State. And that's what we're all about. We're about reaching, connecting, and serving. So we really want you all to stay involved, stay engaged with us after you graduate. And we do all kinds of events as well. So I also failed to mention homecoming, we put that on. We partner with a lot of the organizations, a lot of you all in here throughout the week. It's a big, big event, obviously. That culminates in the parade and the student ambassadors. So we have a lot of different tentacles. But even after you graduate, we want to get you back, whether it be for homecoming, pregame events, bowl events, whatever it may be, to get you all involved. So lots of opportunities. So that's really where we're at. This next year is a big year for us. So 2024 is our 150th anniversary. So we've been around 150 years, which is pretty incredible. So we were founded in June 24th, 1874, just 11 years after the university. And I always find this very interesting. So the very first meeting the Alumni Association had was held by a group of alums. It's kind of funny. The administration didn't trust the alums and what they were up to, so they couldn't meet on campus. They're like, why is this group meeting about whatever it may be? And so they had to meet off campus. And the 3 items they talked about are the 3 items we're still talking about today. I thought that was pretty intriguing. So it was membership, events and reunions, and legislative advocacy. So isn't that incredible? The 3 things they talked about 150 years ago, we're still focusing on now, which is pretty neat. So those are just kind of some things that we're going to be doing and celebrating. We have a big celebration if any of you all are not seniors. It's going to be next fall, Friday, September 13th. It's going to be lucky, Friday 13th. It's the night before we play Arizona. We're going to have a big celebration at the Alumni Association. Love to have you all there. But it's a big year for us. We really do want to get more involved with students and young alums. So I'm completely open to ideas or things we can help out with. We have Wildcats Forever, which is a student group. We probably don't promote it enough, but there's some opportunities there. So we're trying to make sure that we're innovative and we're connecting. We're making sure that we're trying to share the value of membership. Why should you be a member? Why it's important, other than just the discounts and connecting with us all. So I'm always open to feedback, maybe some things that we're doing well, some things that we need to improve. Some of you guys may not even know we're here. Hopefully that's not the case, but I'm sure there's some of them that we haven't been as visible as we should be. So I just appreciate you all having me here, being able to talk to you, and also you guys are very, very involved. So if you have other organizations, whether it be Greek organizations, student organizations that you're involved in, I'm more than happy to come and speak, whatever it may be, on just talk about the Alumni Association and nothing else, just to meet organizations, get feedback. What can we do as an association for you all, because we're here for you ultimately at the end of the day. So we only exist if we have students and we have alums. So that's the only reason we're here. So we're very honored to be a part of K-State, to promote it, and to be your association. So we're here to serve you, like I said, to reach, connect, and serve. So with that, I'll kind of wrap up my 10 minutes and open it up for any questions, comments. Would love to hear from you specifically on things we do well. Hey, I really liked what you did here with homecoming, or what do you do with X, or hey, we'd like to see you more involved here, or anything at all. So I'll just kind of open it up. So any questions from the groups or comments, I'd love to hear back from you all.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the speaker? Chair Long.
All right.
Thank you for coming tonight. Good to see you again. I met you at Delta Chi chapter a couple months ago.
Thank you.
As K-State goes forward with a new strategic plan, including the K-State Student for Life micro-credential, maybe something like that, is the Alumni Association involved in that or no?
Yeah, great question. So I can tell you guys are very, very in tune and plugged in. So great question. So we are a strategic partner. I like to say we also align with campus. So I work with KSU Foundation in fundraising, athletics, campus, and of course the president. So I sit on the president's cabinet. And so the great thing is we are very connected and involved. We are definitely a big partner in the Next Gen strategic plan. Really for us, it's about advocating, make sure we're communicating, pushing out messages, making sure alumni are aware how they can get involved. A couple ways we're doing that. We're going to launch a podcast series beginning in January. So every month, the Alumni Association is going to focus on a key university leader. So the first month's going to be President Linton, which makes sense. Dr. Lane, we'll have Dr. Rosowski with research. It'll be a series throughout the year. So there's going to be a lot that we're going to highlight. And it's going to be more about getting to meet them, but we're also going to talk about strategic plan. So we have that aspect. We're also working with Dr. Stewart on legislative advocacy. So we have a Wildcats for Higher Education group, but it's not really been cultivated. They haven't really been given the training. So Dr. Stewart's going to work with that group to kind of say, okay, if you're interested in helping us out legislatively with Next Gen, here's how you can do that and get involved. We also have a trip planned to DC, January 29th and 30th, that I'm going to go out there with some other university leaders, our government relations team, meet with some of them. And then just for us, like I said, just going back to our magazine, our email, just communicating what we can and being, the best advocate for K-State, but also supporting parts of the Next Gen strategic plan. You specifically mentioned micro-credentials. That is a big piece. I've talked with Dean Gwinner of the Business College, and so they are one of the ones that are kind of ahead in the micro-credential area. And so we would like to partner with them and the other colleges to offer some micro-credentials, or maybe adult learners that are looking to go back for a minor or another major to our Alumni Association. We have 207,000 living alumni, 350,000 alumni are friends, so we have a broad network. And I did fail to mention, this is very important, we're tops in the Big 12 in terms of percent of grads who are members, and we're top 10 nationally in terms of Power 5 institutions. So we want to continue that membership. We're you all and myself and us are very passionate and loyal fan base and alumni. So we want you to be involved and engaged, and the more you are, the better it is. So we're definitely going to be involved there, and I do see a huge opportunity for us. As you know, we're going to move from a little under 20,000 students, learners, to 30,000 learners. And it is important it's learners, not just students. So for us, I see us playing a major role in pushing it out to alumni and seeing if we can't get more micro-credentials or classes or online learning from that population. So great question. You guys are very, very astute. So other questions? That was a
Caucus
long
Leader
answer.
Kidd.
Sorry.
Yeah, so my question is just about the current best practices for tracking alumni once you graduate from K-State. So can you share a little bit more about what the Alumni Association does to make sure when I move across town, you magically know that I have a new address and
Yeah.
everything?
Excellent. And you guys are really good. So we are the database for the university. So we actually house the database of all the alumni and friends. And so what we do is we try to keep that updated. And we have a full-time staff of 4 people, and that's all they do. They work on graduation. They work on updating addresses, pushing that out to make sure that we're connected. And we want to make sure, and that's why it's important for you all, because you're here right now. So we may have your permanent residence in Western Kansas. We may have your local address and whatever it may be. But when you graduate, you're probably not going to hopefully move back home or stay here. If you do, that's great. But more than likely, most move around. So that's why it's important. We'll contact you, reach out to you, whether it be email or phone or address, and try to update those addresses. So it's important for us. The only way we can connect with you all is to make sure you keep it up to date. And so we're constantly trying to update that. Now we have gotten better in terms of tagging, whether it be you're involved in Student Senate or this organization. So that helps us because I think it's also important for us to serve you, to know what you're involved in. So maybe when you're out and there's a student reunion for Student Senate or Delta Chi or whatever it may be, we want to invite you back and get you involved. So the more we can keep that database up to date, the more we can communicate and help you all out, stay connected. So great question.
Speaker's time for questions has expired.
Cut off.
Awesome. Thank you
Thank
so
you all.
much for coming to speak
Appreciate
to
it.
us.
Good catch.
Okay, are there any further first open period speakers? Seeing none, we will move into approval of the minutes. The minutes were distributed on Tuesday along with the agenda and legislation tracking Wednesday along with the agenda and legislation tracking information. Is there a motion to approve the minutes? Senator Glasscock.
Second. Second.
Are there any objections? Seeing none, the minutes will stand approved. Next up, we will move into announcements. 1, if you are interested in serving on the Elections Committee, Commissioner Saya is still seeking members for the Elections Committee this term. Fill out the form or reach out to Commissioner Saya for more information. 2, next Thursday, December 7th at 7 p.m., we will not have Senate, but we will have a work session in Wildcat Chamber. There will be snacks, friends, come work on SGA projects that have been on the back burner, or just come and work on homework with your friends in SGA. 3, if you have noticed any discrepancies in our governing docs, we now have a special committee to handle it, and there is a link in the announcements to report those discrepancies to that committee for review. 4, we are hosting an MSO SGA bowling night. The Multicultural Student Organizations and Student Governing Association will be in the Union Bowling Center tomorrow, December 1st, from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. The entire place is rented out for bowling and pool, and it is completely free to you all. Please reach out to the Student Body Vice President or the Multicultural Affairs Director with any questions that you might have. 5, proxies. If you're going to be absent from a Student Senate meeting, please fill out the link, even if you aren't sure if your absence will be excused. 6, if you will be physically absent from Student Senate but would still like to attend via Zoom, please fill out the Student Senate Zoom request form, and I will review those requests based on the Student Senate attendance policy. 7, if you want to give props to someone in Student Senate, fill out the Senate shoutout form, and Speaker Pro Tem Kappelman will read them at the end of our meeting. Fill out your shoutouts at the link there. The SGA Member of the Week is Anna Koch. Anna has been working hard with members of her college and getting legislation out in Senate. She also came to the Senate Executive Committee meeting to advocate for legislation. Thank you so much for your hard work, Anna. On our upcoming events calendar, you will see that there are none because it is Dead Week. We will not have Senate or any committee meetings for the rest of the semester. And the quote of the week is, "The first problem for all of us is not to learn, but to unlearn." Gloria Steinem. We will now move into commendations. First up, we have Resolution 55. Apologies in advance, all of the resolution numbers are off by 1. So Resolution 55 is what we have up first, the commendation to the Classy Cats. Chair Cuesta.
I move to consider Resolution 55.
It has been moved and considered. Will the author please come forward? Coordinator Navarro, are you deferring your rights as author?
I will defer my rights as author to emerging leader Richard Berg.
The Kansas State University Student Government Association strives to recognize and commend the exemplary work of the fellow university students. The Classic Cats are Kansas State University collegiate dance team. The Classic Cats practice for 4 days a week, 3 hours a day at the Chester E. Peters Recreation Complex. The Classic Cats travel to Orlando, Florida to compete in the College Classics 2023 National Championship. The Classic Cats competed against spirit and dance teams representing every NCAA NCAA collegiate classification in several categories. The Classy Cats won the D1A Prom National Championship on April 8, 2023. The Classy Cats were formally recognized at the Kansas State University versus Baylor University football game on November 11, 2023. The Classy Cats have won 2 years consecutively, showing their repeated dominance and excellence in the competition, and KSU SGA should acknowledge and celebrate the Classy Cats' grit and dedication to collegiate dance, along with representing Kansas State University at the national level. Be it resolved that the Kansas State University Student Government Association commends the Classy Cats for exceptional performance and national title win. Again, Jessica Brinkling, Elizabeth Chapman, Brad Kappelman, Haiti Polson, Caleb Strout, and Kate Thomas must perform their favorite dance for 5 seconds in front of the Student Senate. Upon passage by the Student Senate and signature of the student body president, a copy of the resolution shall be sent to Classy Cat team captain Jenna Glipsby, Classy Cat coach Sarah Heptig, director of band Dr. Frank Traz, association director of bands Dr. Alex Wimmer, associate director of bands Dr. Zach Dillinger, the choreographs at Tribe 99, Kansas State University athletic director Dr. Gene Taylor, Vice President of Academic Success and Student Affairs and Dean of Students, Dr. Thomas Lane, and your University President, Dr. Richard Linton.
Okay, are there any questions or corrections for the author? Senator Glasscock.
On line 21, KG, that's prom? Or
It is Paul.
Okay, cool. Just want to make sure.
Are there further questions or corrections for the author? Seeing none, is there a motion? Senator Griffith,
Madam Speaker, I have an amendment.
state that amendment.
The secretary pull it up. In Section 2, the authors of this bill are attempting to force our officers to dance in front of Senate, and they thought they could escape without having to be embarrassed themselves. It's just tit for tat, they say.
Caucus Leader Porter.
I'd like to second the amendment.
Okay, the amendment has been seconded. Is there any debate on the amendment? Chair Long?
Joey, can we put an Oxford comma after Andrew Navarro's name?
Oh, I missed that.
That's a friendly amendment.
Can I make it something?
Yeah.
We have Jake Brown.
Another
Sure.
officer. Okay. Are there, Chair Suchanek?
Could we add Jacob Hoffman?
Yes, please.
Chair Blood?
Parliamentary inquiry,
Yes.
can we amend amendments?
No.
No, we cannot. We can friendly amend amendments. We can Oxford comma an amendment. It's not a feasance. Okay, so we're gonna say this amendment as it stands, unless you would like to remove your second. Having
Does
added,
anyone have an amendment ready? I'll remove my second.
okay, would someone else like to second the amendment? Having added an Oxford comma, Jake Brown and Jacob Hoffman's names.
I'd like to second the amendment.
Perfect. Now, is there any debate on the amendment?
He is first rights.
You have first rights to debate.
It's tit for tat. Can we really be expected to force only some of our officers to dance and others get to escape scot-free? I say no. So vote for the amendment and then obviously approve because our classy cats did kick serious butt.
Seeing as that was debate in the positive on the amendment, is there debate in the negative on the amendment? Is there further debate in the positive on the amendment? And is there any further debate at all? Okay, if you are in favor of the amendment, please raise your placard now. Proxies raised 2. All opposed, same sign.
Those are my homies.
Coordinator Navarro, you do not have a vote. Seeing none, the amendment will pass. We are now, Senator Griffith.
I move to approve Resolution 55 as amended unanimously.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Are there any objections?
I object.
Okay, it has been moved, seconded, and objected. So we will now go into a hand vote on the resolution, or on the resolution. All in favor, please raise your placards now. Proxies raised 2. All opposed, same sign.
Yep.
Okay, it will stand approved. Would everybody who is in the bill please come forward? The bill has been passed by the Senate. Chair Long?
Commissioner, parliamentary procedure.
Yes.
Resolutions in any way require action.
Okay.
Not technically, but
You don't want to, you are in no way required to.
I think that's a great way to go.
Terry, can we play a song?
okay, we
have a question for the group. We have a question for the group. If we didn't do this today, but we choreographed something for you, as soon as we come back, we will have a choreographed routine. With music. You can't have it both ways.
Yeah, let's just run now.
Senator Melcher.
Why is that in there?
Can I ask my question? If we give you guys time to choreograph a dance, is it for a whole song or just 5 seconds?
Oh no, we'll do a whole song.
I think it's more of an
What are we doing? It's 5 seconds isn't that long. 5 seconds is not that long.
The dance will happen at a time that is not right now.
But don't you
Because we have an agenda full of legislation tonight. Senator Griffin.
I move to appeal the decision of the chair.
Object.
It's not a decision of the chair. It is just me saying something. It's not a decision because resolutions don't have binding action. Next up, we have Resolution 232456, Commendation to the Crops Team. Is there a motion to consider? Senator Glasscock.
I move to consider resolution 56.
Thank you. It has been moved and seconded. Will the author please come forward?
Hello. Resolution 232455, Commendation to the Crops Team. Authors me, sponsors Bentley Talbert, Bobby Bruckner. Whereas Kansas State University Student Governing Association, KSU-SGA, strives to recognize and commend the exemplary work of fellow university students. Whereas the Crops Team is Kansas State University's KSU Collegiate Crops Judging Team. Whereas the Crops Team traveled to Kansas City, Kansas on November 14th, 2023, and Chicago, Illinois on November 18th, 2023 to compete in the Kansas City American Royal Collegiate Crops Contest and the Chicago Collegiate Crops Contest, respectively. Whereas the Crops Team won both the Kansas City American Royal Collegiate Crops Contest and the Chicago Collegiate Crops Contest, whereas the Crops Team had first place finishes in all 3 judging categories, including grain grading, seed analysis, and identification, whereas the Crops Team swept the individual championship title thanks to Renee Sinclair receiving first place and Landon Trout and Quentin Bina receiving second and third, respectively, whereas Sinclair's individual score was the 3rd highest to ever be recorded at the Chicago contest and the best since 1963, whereas only 19 students have ever won both the Kansas City and Chicago events in the same year, 11 of whom are from KSU, and Sinclair is the 5th KSU student to do so in the last 10 years, whereas the Crops Team has now won the Collegiate Crops Contest Championship outright in 18 of the past 25 years, whereas in the 100-year history of Collegiate Crops Contest, KSU won or shared the title 32 times, with second place located firmly behind at 21 titles, and whereas KSU-SGA should acknowledge and celebrate the continued hard work and commitment from students and faculty that ensures the Crops Team continues success. Be it resolved that, Section 1, Kansas State University Student Governing Association, KSU-SGA, commends the Crops Team for their exceptional individual performances and 32nd national title win. Section 2, upon passage by the Student Senate and signature of the Student Body President, a copy of this resolution shall be sent to Crops Team members Renee Sinclair, Landon Trout, Quentin Bina, Molly Kane, and Joel Bryan, Head Coach Rachel Vinstra, Coach Sarah Frey, Team Advisor Kevin Donnelly, Executive Director of the Kansas Crop Improvement Association Steve Schuler, Head of KSU Department of Agronomy Dr. Raj Khosla, Eldon Gideon, Dean of the College of Agriculture, and Director of K-State Research and Extension, Dr. Ernest Minton, Vice President for Academic Success and Student Affairs and Dean of Students, Dr. Thomas Lane, and University President, Dr. Richard Linton.
Senator Bellamy.
I move to approve resolution unanimously.
Chair Long?
Can we get rid of the comma after 18 on line 13, please? And then Dr. Can we have Dr. Kevin Donnelly, please?
What was the first one?
Doctor to Donnelly.
What line is that?
50.
50. And a comma on 13.
Come on. Where was the comma? Can you see the first one?
It's November 18, comma 2020. Sorry, November, comma 18, comma 2023, comma. So one extra comma.
Oh, okay.
I got it.
Are there further questions or corrections for the author? Seeing none. Senator Bellamy, did you, your motion?
I've said again. I move to approve the resolution unanimously.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Are there any objections? Seeing none, Resolution 56 will stand approved. We will now move into committee reports. Are there any committee chairs that would like to give a report tonight? Chair Lynn.
Okay, so 3 things. You all will have an email hitting your inbox about 30 seconds after I sit back down. In that email is going to be a copy of the full accessibility report that I showed you all last week, so that you have that on hand when we have that legislation come up later tonight. Second, also in that email is going to be a link to a demographic survey. Part of the DEIB committee's prescribed duties is to complete demographic surveys of SGA, and so I'm going to do 2 demographic surveys. The first one is going to be current people who are in SGA, and then we'll be doing a second demographic survey of all the people who are running for positions once election season starts. On that survey, just note, any question that you don't want to answer or don't feel comfortable answering, none of them are required, and it's all anonymous, so I won't know who answered what. It's just so that we have the best information to see where we need to be more heavily recruiting to make things more equitable and representative in our body. The last thing is just an update on diversity programming funds. Since I last talked to you all about this, we have doubled the amount that we had spent the last time that I chatted with everybody. So quick update on that. We have so far spent $73,245 out of the $137,000-ish budget that we had this semester. That leaves us with, or this year, that leaves us with $64,489 in the budget for the rest of this fiscal year. One of those being the Iranian graduate students Yalda Night. That was one that the committee allocated a little over $20,000 for. Going to be a really big event happening on December 4th from 6 to 10 p.m. in the Union. So your student dollars are going to it. You may as well show up. Just wanted to put all of that out there.
Are there any questions for Chair Lynn? Seeing none, thank you. Are there further committee chairs that would like to give a report tonight? Chair Blood.
Wanted to give a quick update on the Committee on Governing Doc Alignment. We're planning to meet beginning of next week, and so as was put in the announcements of the agenda, there is a form that anyone can fill out as long as they have a ksu.edu email to kind of point out any inconsistencies between either like current practices and processes or just within the actual wording of governing documents themselves. And so we just really ask that you at least cite like a section or even better, like put a quote in there, but it's pretty quick to fill out. otherwise, and just help the committee kind of keep track of everything. So wanted to bring everyone's attention to that.
Are there any questions for the committee chair? Seeing none, are there further committee chair reports? Seeing none, are there any directors that would like to give a report tonight? Attorney General Polson.
Thank you. All right. Hello. Okay, there we go. So first, the report that I'm giving is in regards to 2 recent tribunal interpretations. Before I give those, I do want to acknowledge that per bylaws section, let me make sure I get it all right. Section 13C, there is a sentence stating that the Attorney General shall inform the Student Senate the following Senate meeting in regards to once a request is made for interpretation. That obviously did not happen. I apologize. This is the first tribunal interpretation I've ever seen in my entire time at K-State, so I thank you all for giving me grace in that. That being said, more than happy to answer any questions regarding that. The reason that is in there is because you all have the ability to submit amicus briefs. So that definition is within the bylaws. I believe it's like a 2-page paper with relevant information to the interpretation request. Once I read the interpretations, I think it'll make a little bit more sense as to why those might not be super relevant to these situations specifically. However, because it was done incorrectly, more than happy to completely redo them and move through that process again, should there be anybody that would like to submit any briefs. So, that being said, interpretation number 1, the issue at hand was Bills 23-24-33 and 23-24-34 were both referred to the Senate Operations Committee and Senate Executive Committee. What happens when something is referred to 2 committees and they report back at different times if the bills are different? So that was what was submitted by President Stout. The interpretation reads as follows. On November 16, 2023 at 7:47 p.m., the Student Tribunal determined that current statutes do not define any procedures for what occurs when a bill is simultaneously referred to 2 committees. Due to a lack of said procedures, the tribunal was unable to come to a decision regarding the questions posed by the requesting party. The primary recommendation of the tribunal is that the Student Senate amend statutes 02-0207, paragraph E, to establish procedures concerning the simultaneous referral of one bill to 2 or more committees. Additionally, the tribunal recommends that the Senate addresses the following matters during the amendment process. When a bill is altered in committee and authorship is changed, what effects does this have on the bill's identity and standing in other committees, if any? Question. Do these edits render the initial bill null or leave it unchanged in other committees? Bullet point number 2, statute 02-0204 paragraph B concerns how the Senate may choose which report to serve as final action when legislation is sent to more than one committee. The mandate is phrased as Student Senate shall determine which report to choose for final action. The tribunal has decided that the wording shall determine and final action do not clearly outline a decision process, and we recommend amending with further specification. Bullet point number 3, consider subjecting bills sent to 2 or more committees simultaneously to a time limit in an effort to mitigate or avoiding politicking, wow. And bullet point number 4, a typographical error is located in sentence 1 of paragraph E. It reads as to A1 or more standing committees. This error creates problems for any interpretations and should be fixed. Interpretation 2. The issue reads as follows. Bill 22-2392 was passed on February 23rd, 23, Chapter 24, Section 24-0203, letter E of the bill has caused contention. Per request for interpretation, one party argued that the section quotations, intended to allow all non-alcoholic beverages to be funded, not specific to cultural drinks. Other parties have argued that this section only permits the funding of cultural drinks. Concerns have been raised that this latter argument would entail an exclusionary and insensitive bill, which, if either argument is correct. The interpretation reads as follows. On November 16th, 2023 at 8:51 p.m., the Student Tribunal excuse me, in a 3-1 vote, decided in a 3-1 vote that the current wording for the bill does entail that only cultural drinks are eligible for funding. This ruling is accompanied by the very strong recommendation that the Senate remove the phrase intercultural learning experience from this bill. The tribunal has decided that determination of cultural relevance is outside the scope of the Student Governing Association, and any attempts to determine cultural relevance expose Kansas State University, the Student Governing Association, and the DEIB Committee to legal and ethical risks. The tribunal believes that it is the responsibility of the numerous multicultural student groups to determine whether an item in question has relevance to their culture. I stand for questions.
Chair Cuesta?
After an interpretation, the process has been completed. Where will those be posted? How are we supposed to follow those in the future?
Yeah, so I can answer that question. We vote as a Senate to adopt them into our governing documents or not. So we vote as a Senate whether or not to put them in our governing documents.
Do you mean the interpretation or the recommendation? Follow-up question. My apologies. We, as I mentioned before, this has not happened in a hot minute. We now have tools like Org Central where we can store things and make them incredibly accessible. I would like to explore options like that. These are a little bit different. For example, like the first interpretation literally says, due to lack of procedures, the tribunal was unable to come to a decision regarding questions. So it's not so much something that can be referenced where instead of like if it said, this is exactly what it is, we can say or we can make amendments to the bylaws that say, please refer to interpretation, whatever. I would like to explore storing them in Org Central of sorts, but that is up for further discussion.
President Stout.
You mentioned legal troubles. Was General Counsel consulted?
We have not yet consulted General Counsel because we feel that that is not necessarily our duty. We are recommending that you all do that because it is your guys' job to change legislation and whatnot.
Senator Bellamy.
Is there any way you could send out what you just said?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Are there further questions for Attorney General Chair Blood?
What is the status? This is completely unrelated to the report, unfortunately. What's the status on the recommendation of the Attorney General Selection Committee giving their recommendation to Senate?
We are holding interviews next Monday. That committee has been selected by President Stout, Speaker Thomas, and myself. I am a non-voting member of that committee. The people that we all selected are voting members. Once those interviews occur on Monday, I will have a name. They will then be sworn in the first Student Senate of next semester.
Are there further questions for Attorney General Polson? Seeing none, thank you. Are there any further directors that would like to give a report tonight? Vice President Bigley.
Alrighty, everyone. As you may have seen in K-State today, K-State adopted the Okanagan Charter. What that is, just to give you all a little bit of information, it's an international charter that calls upon higher education to embed health into university culture and lead health promotion across the entire community, locally and globally. So it's really just calling on K-State to ensure that we prioritize health and well-being in all facets. I won't go on about it, but I encourage you all to read about the charter and go get educated because it is a pretty big deal. I believe we're only the 22nd university to adopt it. And there's going to be several. We're the first in Kansas. There's several that are going to be adopting it soon. So go educate yourselves. It's an awesome, awesome thing.
Are there any questions for Vice President Binkley? Seeing none, thank you. Are there further directors that would like to give a report tonight? Commissioner Saya.
Okay, so SGA is going to look a little bit different when we get back in the spring, and that's because elections start. On the very first day of the spring semester, all candidates are able to start chalking posters and banners, start social media, and start tabling in the union. So over the course of a month or two, you'll see a lot of activity from candidates running for office. The general election is on Tuesday, February 20th, and Wednesday, February 21st. So I'll be providing more updates throughout that process and over the last few weeks of the semester, but I wanted to give everyone a heads up.
Are there any questions for Commissioner Saya? Seeing none, thank you. Are there further directors that would like to give a report tonight? Director Chifchi.
Hello, everyone. Jess sent out an email, what was it, Monday? Yep. About a bowling social. So I mentioned this briefly like a couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks ago or something. It's essentially a collaborative event between agricultural student organizations and SGA. It's tomorrow from 5 to 7. It's free bowling and it's funded by SGA completely. So thank you to all the people that approved that. I don't know who they are, but thank you. Like I said, tomorrow, 5 to 7, it's a great event to meet with MSOs, to collaborate with them, see who they are, and it's also a great event for them to see who we are as a SGA. We are the Student Governing Association, and we are representative of them. So please come out tomorrow at the bowling alley, 5 to 7, funded by SGA, so it is our money. And, it'll be cool to see, the connections that we make, the bridges that we establish. It'll make our jobs moving forward a lot easier. 5 to 7 at the bowling alley. Please put it on the calendar right now. It's free. We have like the whole bowling alley reserved. If you can't stay for like the full time, please, come for 30 minutes, 20 minutes. Yeah, we also have pool. I'll be playing pool. I'm not good at bowling. Shout out
Are
to
there
Caleb Stout.
any questions for Director Chifchi? Emerging Leader Alvarez.
Did you guys also buy pizza? Because I don't want to work tomorrow.
We did not.
Thank you.
You're welcome. There's no free food, but there's free bowling. So, yeah. Oh wait, 5 to 7. Please come.
It is also in the announcements in case you forget.
And I'll probably like resend the flyer out, just so you guys really know when it is.
Awesome. Are there any further questions? Seeing none, thank you. Are there further directors that would like to give a report tonight? Awesome. Seeing none. We will move into approval of allocations. Chair Cuesta.
I move to refer Bill 42 back to the Student Allocations Committee.
Second.
Okay, would you like to explain that to the body?
Yeah, so this is, for those that don't remember, this is an allocation to the Blue Key Honor Society in the amount of $800 for travel for their annual conference in Mobile, Alabama. Last Sunday, there were some concerns raised in committee about this organization's endowment size. And after having talked to several individuals on the committee, different people who are particularly interested in this subject, I think we've come to the conclusion that the committee would like to review this again. And that's because I think the decision was made hastily. We were coming off break. We were on Zoom. There wasn't a lot of discussion. I think the committee would like to revisit this particular topic. So I would ask that you would vote in favor of this motion so we can revisit it next semester. So thank you.
Coordinator Navarro?
Yeah, what was the initial reason why this was drawn out unfavorably?
So the reason is just simply due because of Blue Key's large operating budget and the endowment that they receive from private donors. That was the reason that it got referred out unfavorably.
Senator Griffith.
So by referring it back to the committee, it would return to your committee to be voted on again the following semester after the event has concluded?
Yeah, and this Blue Key is a sponsored student organization, so they'll receive the money as a reimbursement from receipts that they give us anyway, so that's not a big concern here.
Okay, seeing no more questions. Is there any debate in the negative on the motion to amend, or any objection to the motion to amend? Motion to refer. Sorry. Okay, we will move into a hand vote on the motion to refer this back to the allocations committee. All those in favor, please raise your placards now. Proxies raised 2. All opposed, same sign. That bill will be referred back to the allocations committee. We will now go into approval of the rest of the allocations. So bills 43, 44, 45, and 46 and 47. All of them were referred out favorably, 8-0 to 0. Chair Cuesta.
I move to approve the allocations.
Second.
Unanimously?
Yeah.
Okay. Seeing as that was moved and seconded, are there any objections? Seeing none, the allocations will stand approved. Next, we will move into final action. The first bill is Bill 232435. This is a mistake on my part with the agenda. 2 weeks ago, there was a motion to hold Bill 35 until this date. And so I did not get it on the agenda. It is the ILC charter. I will get that sent out shortly if the author wants to come forward. Have any changes been made?
Yes.
Okay. Changes since it was.
Well, it might be the one referred out of committee. So it's probably, yeah, it's that one. So maybe no. I don't know.
It's the same as it was when it left my committee.
Okay.
Awesome.
So never mind.
You should all be receiving that. Okay, you have first rights to debate.
Essentially, it's the same piece of legislation, except we added 2 new representatives to the committee from the, I'm not sure this is the correct name, but Office of First Gen Students, directly appointed by whoever is in charge. I can't remember off the top of my head. But this was referred out of committee, and then the ILC also reviewed it, and they also really liked it. It's just a good change. It increases representation, which is what we always want, and it makes ILC more connected to different corners of campus, which was its first intention when it was created. So yeah, please vote yes or pass it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Seeing as that was debate in the positive, is there debate in the negative? Is there further debate in the positive? Is there any further debate at all? Seeing none, we will go into a roll call vote on Bill 35.
Atchison. Bellamy.
Yes.
Biggs.
Yes.
Blood.
Yes.
Broughton.
Yes.
Bruckner.
Yes.
Koch.
Yes.
Compton. Cuesta.
Yes.
Cup.
Yes.
Dennis.
Yes.
Drotz.
Yes.
Dunce.
Yes.
Fogel. Glasscock.
Yes.
Griffith.
Yes.
Haynes.
Yes.
Hartzell. Heatherman. Heseltine.
Yes.
Hoffmans.
Yes, by proxy.
Hulse.
Yes.
Hunley.
Yes.
Jacobson. Kirchen. Kidd.
Yes.
Kermer.
Yes.
Lilly. Long.
Here. Yes.
Lynn.
Yes.
Mason.
Yes.
Melcher.
Yes.
Moore. O'Malley.
Yes.
Oury. Pelton.
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes, by proxy.
Porter.
Yes.
Rios.
Yes.
Rivard. Rodriguez Melendez. Rogers. Syed Carly.
Yes.
Syed Nick. Salmon.
Yes.
Streetman. Strunk.
Yes.
Sushanik.
Yes.
West.
Yes.
Winger.
Yes.
Wolf.
Yes.
And Zacko. All right. Bill 23-2435 will pass on a vote of 38 to 0 to 0.
Thanks, Brady. Next, we'll move to Bill 23-2449, amendments to, or 48, amendments to Chapter 6 of the KSU SGA Comprehensive Plan. This was referred favorably out of committee 7 to 0 to 0. Will the author please come forward? Have any changes been made?
Yeah, one format change on line 32, just to make sure the spacing is correct there. Otherwise, no other changes.
Awesome, you have first rights to debate.
Yeah, so this legislation is just kind of making sure that the oversight committee is properly in line with, one, what they're doing and kind of the goals for the future. The idea is to make sure that we have goals and objectives that are very in line with the student body as a whole and with SGA in particular, and making sure that what we're doing is reachable, achievable, and that it's kind of good for the body and good for the student body. And so these are kind of just One of these is making sure that we have specificity in what we're doing for future oversight bodies for future years. One of these is kind of the edible landscaping, native landscaping is specifically for things that we're working on in committee. And then the removal is just to make sure that we have achievable goals in our governing documents. So that's all. I hope that you vote yes.
Seeing as that was debate in the positive, is there any debate in the negative? Is there any further debate in the positive? And is there any further debate at all? Seeing none, we'll move into a roll call vote.
All right. Atchison. Bellamy.
Yes.
Biggs. Blood.
No.
Broughton.
Yes.
Bruckner.
Yes.
Koch.
Yes.
Compton. Cuesta.
Yes.
Cup.
Yes.
Dennis.
Yes.
Drotz.
Yes.
Dunce.
Yes.
Fogel.
Yes.
Glasscock.
Yes.
Griffith.
Yes.
Haynes.
Yes.
Hartzell. Heatherman. Hesseltine.
Yes.
Hoffmans.
Yes, by proxy.
Holst.
Yes.
Hunley.
Yes.
Jacobson.
Yes.
Purchin. Kidd.
Yes.
Kermer.
Yes.
Kenzie. Lilly. Long.
Yes.
Lynn.
Yes.
Mason.
Yes.
Melcher.
Yes.
Moore. O'Malley.
Yes.
Oury.
Yes.
Pelton.
Yes.
Peterson. Porter.
Yes.
Rios.
Yes.
Rivard. Rodriguez Melendez. Rogers. Syed Carly.
Yes.
Syed Nick.
Yes.
Salmon.
Yes.
Streetman. Strunk.
Yes.
Sushanik.
Yes.
West.
Yes.
Winger.
Yes, by proxy.
Wolf.
Yes.
And Zacko.
Yes, by proxy.
All right. Bill 232448 will pass on a vote of 39 to 1 to 0.
Thanks, Brady. We will now move on to, that was 48. Now move on to Bill 49, amendments to the KSU-SGA Constitution regarding College of Architecture, Planning, and Design election designation. This was referred out favorably 6 to 0 to 0. Will the author please come forward? Have any changes been made?
Yes, so instead of 4 years being College of Architecture Senator and 1 year eligible for grad school senator, we've changed it to all 5 years enrolled in the non-baccalaureate 5-year master's program should be all College of Architecture, Planning and Design. And then all the post-bacs would still be eligible for grad school.
Awesome, you have first rights to debate.
Yeah, so after conversation in committee, started getting a little bit messy on the correct wording, when people will be eligible versus not eligible for one thing. So it just made a little bit more sense to say all 5 years that people enrolled into the 5-year master's program should be designated as the College of Architecture, Planning and Design. It also just, the 5-year master's students seem to be more connected within the College of Architecture versus the grad school, so this just makes sense. So there's also an urgency on this if we're trying to get something moving before the coming up election cycle.
Thank you. Seeing as that was debate in the positive, is there any debate in the negative? Is there any further debate in the positive? And is there any further debate at all? Seeing none, we will move into a roll call vote.
Right. Atchison. Bellamy.
Yes.
Biggs. Blood.
Yes.
Broughton.
Yeah.
Bruckner.
Yes.
Koch.
Yes.
Compton.
Yes, by proxy.
Cuesta. Cup.
Yes.
Dennis.
Yes.
Drotz,
Yes.
Dunce,
Yes.
Fogel,
Yes.
Glasscock,
Yes.
Griffith,
Yes.
Haynes,
Yes.
Hartzell, Heatherman, Hoffmans, Hesseltine,
Yes.
Pulse,
Yes.
Hunley,
Yes.
Jacobson,
Yes.
Kirchen, Kidd,
Yes.
Kermer,
Yes.
Kinsey, Lilly, Long,
Yes.
Lynn,
Yes.
Mason,
Yes.
Melcher,
Yes.
Moore, O'Malley,
Yes.
Lowry,
Yes.
Pelton, Peterson, Porter,
Yes.
Rios,
Yes.
Rivard, Rodriguez Melendez, Rogers, Syed Carly,
Yes.
Syed Nick,
Yes.
Salmon,
Yes.
Streetman, Strunk,
Yes.
Sushanik,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Winger,
Yes, by proxy.
Wolf,
Yes.
and Zacko.
Yes, by proxy.
Bill 23-2449 will pass on a vote of 38 to 0 to 0.
Okay, up next we have Resolution 23-2447, recommendation for the Kansas State University regarding Native American student tuition. This was referred out favorably 8 to 0 to 0. Will the author please come forward? Have any changes been made?
Yes, so the DEIB committee made a couple significant changes. Last week, I presented to you legislation that said we should just have cost of education covered for Native American students. And what you see in front of you now is that we should modify the criteria for the Land Grant Promise Award so that it is inclusive of Native American students. And if you're not familiar with the Land Grant Promise Award, it says right now that Kansas students who are Pell eligible, or maybe who receive Pell dollars, then receive additional dollars from K-State to cover the last cost of their education, which is to say they don't get a check for their tuition amount, but the remainder of their tuition after all their other scholarships and after Pell, that gets covered. So they come to K-State without having to pay tuition. Anyway, the Be It Resolved section of this legislation was revised to make it such that the land grant and promise, in our recommendation, would include Native American students as acceptable applicants.
Okay, you have first rights to debate.
Thank you. I am frustrated by the land acknowledgement. Every week, the same as all of you, I sit here and I listen to those words, the promise that we make every single week. And I'm frustrated and annoyed that every single week we do nothing to substantiate the idea that we're here to support Native American students. But I thought to myself, you know, if you're going to be upset that we don't do anything, then you need to take the first step and you need to actually do something about Native American students and what you think we should achieve. So the legislation that you see tonight is the result of that, and it's something I've been working on all semester with the president of the Native American student body, Joseph Pondillo. So I am extremely proud to attend this institution, and that is really the forefront of this land grant experiment. It's something that it didn't start out when I came here, but I've grown to appreciate the land grant philosophy and everything that it's granted me as a student. But I also understand that the 1862 Morrill Act that created this institution was part of a centuries-long effort to displace Native Americans. So my frustrations about the land acknowledgement coincided with this process of thinking about what the land grant mission for Kansas State means, what our purpose is as an institution. That's sort of been showed off to all of us with the strategic planning process. K-State really gets to decide now what it means to be a land grant institution. The Okanagan Charter is a great example of that. I remember a couple years ago when we were first having conversations about the Okanagan Charter, and the fact that we're now finally signing that document to me shows that we made a decision that a land grant institution is one that prioritizes health and well-being. That was our decision on what land grant institutions represent. And I think we have a really great opportunity to make the same sort of promise, to decide that land grant institutions support opportunities for Native American students. So that might at first sound like an ambitious idea, but I think the legislation that's in front of you is actually very practical, and I think that for 3 reasons. First of all, it follows a built-in scholarship structure. I'm really grateful for the recommendations that came out of the DEIB committee, because I think they gave a lot of heft to the original idea, and I think have presented us with a really solid plan of getting aid to Native American students. The second, the land grant promise specifically is not like other scholarships, and I talked about this a little bit when I was mentioning the edits, but it is a last dollar grant, which means that it's not just cutting a check, but it's considering what the actual need is for these students and covering the last dollar, whether that's $5, $10, or a couple $1,000, right? It's inclusive of the scholarships and other aid that these students might receive. And the third reason is that there's really significant precedent for this sort of action. Not only have schools across the country looked at ways to reduce the cost assessed to Native American students, but many institutions, in particular in California and in Oregon, have covered all costs for Native American students. And I think it's about time that we as a land grant institution sort of step up to the plate and bring ourselves into that community that provides those opportunities. There's an essay I read pretty recently by George Orwell, which is titled Politics and the English Language. And it goes on for a while about this sort of vague, abstract language that politicians or people in politics use that doesn't tend to mean anything at all. And so Orwell points out that it can be used to either obscure the motives of politicians, or it can be used to really do nothing of substance. And I see a lot of those warnings when I look at the land acknowledgement as it's written. I think we have a choice between the vague, abstract words that we pledge every Senate session to create decolonized spaces and other promises like that, or to support a tangible, substantive action that we want the university to take to make it easier for Native American students to attend this land grant institution. I have a preference for that concrete action, and that's why I would like all of you to vote yes. Thank you.
Seeing as that was debate in the positive, is there debate in the negative? Senator Hulse.
Okay, hello everyone. I will not be quite as long, I'll just cut to the chase, but in my belief, this resolution in its new updated form is unnecessary. As the resolution states in lines 21 and 22, in 2023, the Kansas legislature approved a provision granting in-state status to students enrolled in tribes with historical connections to Kansas. Additionally, when you look on the Kansas State University website for the Land Grant Promise Scholarship, it states that students who have met the state's qualification for a residency exemption for military personnel or Indigenous students may qualify for the scholarship. If you click on the link, then Indigenous students are outlined to include members of 32 tribes recognized with historical connections to Kansas. As this resolution outlines in line 34, It aims to remove barriers for Native American students. Currently, by granting out-of-state citizens in these tribes the benefits afforded to all Kansans, the Kansas State's legislature, and in turn, all universities in Kansas have already taken action on this. Under our current system today, Native American students can earn the land-grant promise scholarship based on their objective needs, just like any other in-state student. The problem I see with this resolution and any other like it is that it separates a group based solely on their race and cultural heritage. In my belief, granting preferential treatment to one group of people based on race or cultural heritage at its core is racist, no matter how noble the intentions behind it. Over time, this will only serve to perpetuate racial divides. Sufficient steps have been taken to allow Native American students the opportunity to receive this scholarship based on their own objective need, regardless of their state of residence, unlike any other out-of-state students. I firmly believe that we mustn't take steps towards the self-destructive pattern of belief that we can solve past racism with present racism today. No group should be treated differently based solely on their race, regardless of how positive the intentions, period. Therefore, I urge you to vote no. Thank you.
Seeing as that was debate in the negative, is there further debate in the positive? Chair Lynn.
So just to address some previous speakers' claims. So I want to talk about the reason that legislation and actions like this are important. When we're looking at racism, it's important to understand how historically marginalized groups are affected by this every single day. Which is why it's really difficult to say things like being racist to a white person, for example, isn't the same as racism in the context of being against someone who's Black or Native American or something like that. When we're talking about the Land Grant Promise Scholarship, a previous speaker mentioned that Native American students are already eligible for this scholarship. Native American students are currently allowed to get in-state tuition at K-State based on that decision by the Kansas legislature. However, they still have to meet the threshold for the Pell Grant eligibility in order to get the K-State's Land Grant Promise Scholarship. What this resolution is urging the university to do is allowing any member of a federally recognized tribe to be eligible regardless of their eligibility for the Pell Grant. That's because, as the author stated, every single week we get up here and we talk about how important it is to recognize that we're sitting on stolen land at this university, and we haven't done anything about it, ever. Those words don't mean anything unless we're backing them up with action, and this is action that we can back it up with. So when we're thinking about, the context of what is racist and what is not racist, this entire university and like most of the United States is built on the backs of racism. So the least we can do now is allowing students who have those cultural ties and these histories and actually trying to do something to back up the words that we're saying every week.
Seeing as that was debate in the positive, is there any further debate in the negative? Is there further debate in the positive? President Pondillo.
It's okay. You don't have to call me president. That feels really weird. Could you scroll down a little bit? So, yeah.
So within this section 1, we just added or enrollment in federally recognized tribes, which will basically grant any student who is Native the ability to get in-state tuition, just because the legislator has to renew it every single year. And only to go off a speaker's point in the previous speaker, only like 30 plus tribes are able to get this as is right now, but there is over 574 tribes, 200 that are not federally recognized. So I think this bill just acknowledges the fact of what this institution is built on. And it's very impactful for me to be here and to have other Native students come at this institution, because for many people, this may be K-State, but this is where my tribe used to be at. Here's my tribal enrollment. And so I had to bleep it because there's my social security number. Y'all, don't sell my information. Anyways, carry on. But it's just really impactful to have Native students at the First Land Grant institution. And I hear a lot of talk about what is the next land grant institution, the next gen. I think this embodies that. I think just making it an equitable environment for all students to remove barriers to come here is just impactful. If you have like any questions or comments about this, I would like to talk about this afterwards. But yeah, if you're Native in here, much love, much love. That's it. Thank you guys.
Seeing as that was debate in the positive, is there further debate in the negative? Is there further debate in the positive? And is there any further debate at all? President Stout, is this positive or negative? Negative?
I want to preface this just by saying this is kind of what can be a difficult thing to discuss. I am very grateful for student org presidents coming to speak on something like this. I want to express my concerns, and they're kind of a few deep. The first I want to say is I don't know if this has actually been presented completely fairly as to what it would be doing. By saying it's a last dollar scholarship. The land grant promise is that, but you have to understand the land grant promise is built on Pell eligibility, which is, I want to say the number is $7,300 or something like that for this academic year. And so what the last dollar says is that could end up being, the land grant promise, that could end up being $0 for a student if they're Pell eligible, they have other scholarships. They can still qualify for land grant promise, but not actually make that gets confusing. But inserting the clause in that third point of Pell eligibility or enrollment with the tribe, I think that kind of redoes the whole point of the land grant promise. Also, I wanted to point out, it's been mentioned that that first line, the or enrollment in a federally recognized indigenous nation, is something we're suggesting. That's something the university already did. I want to clarify that. So the land grant promise already reads, if you are enrolled in a federally recognized nation, you can go online and read the whole list of tribes that are listed. Then you qualify for in-state tuition. So I wanted to clarify that. And then my second concern is pretty detached from this bill in particular and just a general theme that I've seen. And that's just, there's been a lack of legwork, I believe, put into this bill for something that's been a semester-long project. I'm a little confused why I was the one that was reaching out to some of these people and asking them questions, and reached out to General Counsel, Vice President Karen Goose, President Linton, spoke with all of them, and it was really the first they'd heard of it, and they also didn't understand the point we were trying to make, which was kind of separate and a little bit frustrating. But in general, I guess that's kind of a ramble, but those are my points of, I don't actually know if this does align with the strategic plan. I totally understand wanting to back our words with action, and I support that, and I see where that's coming from. but in general, I don't think that this has been presented clearly. I don't think that proper work has been put into this on the front end. And yeah, in general, I don't think that this is quite ready to be passed now. I think there can be more conversations had on this. So as it stands now, I don't think it should be passed tonight. So that's all I've got for you. Thank you.
Seeing as that was debate in the negative, is there further debate in the positive?
I have a point of information.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm wondering how I would ask like a senator like a question like about this bill, basically, like because I'm a little bit confused on it.
You could go and ask the author, who's over there.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Is there further debate in the positive? Caucus Leader Solomon.
All right. Hello, everyone. I would like to address a couple points brought up by previous speakers and the negation. First being the structure of the, can you scroll down slightly? Sorry. Can you scroll down slightly? Sorry. Being the structure of the resolved, like be it resolved, section 1, how that's built into the land grant promise. I work at Target Financial. I work with a lot of students who receive land grant promise, individuals who are currently Pell Grant eligible, and as one of the previous speakers brought up, that is a variety of people from someone who receives $1,000 in Pell Grant up to $7,345. And I think the reason why this legislation is so powerful and why the first debater brought it up is because it is built into a system that has been and continues to be effective for individuals who need monetary and financial support to come to K-State. The mission of the land grant promise aligns directly with the mission of what this bill is trying to accomplish, and I believe both populations, Pell Grant eligible students and also Native American students, fit into that population that needs greater accessibility and support at K-State. I think what's so powerful about putting it into a system that already works is it disallows the university from finding ways to say, no, this won't work, we can't really do this, we don't have a system built. It allows for us as SGA to tell them, this is our idea, and we should find a way to make this work because it has worked in the past. Secondly, to address some additional points, I think this also avoids a lot of potential loopholes that the current system has. Certainly, Indigenous students and Native American students can be eligible to receive funding, such as the land grant promise and other things of that sort, up to their total cost of attendance. But the majority, like historically, if you look at both our federal government and also likely here at K-State, those types of can be or may be eligible types of clauses usually allow for bureaucracy, loopholes, and general disallowances of actually providing that funding to students. Because it's up to the discretion of the university. And I think that's a problem because it doesn't actually achieve the solution we're trying to work towards, and that's getting money to Native American students and other individuals who need it. Secondly, I would like to address the point brought up of lack of legwork. I feel like we have set this precedent in this body that in order for a resolution to be presented and passed, every single individual and every single entity that is relevant to the decision of the resolution has to be contacted and affirmed of their opinion before we actually present to this body. I feel like the purpose of this body is to present ideas to the university and then work to try to accomplish them. I think it's unfair to say that lack of legwork was done just because individuals like the president and other people pretty high up in this institution were not contacted about it. I think it is our role to say, here's our position on a topic, now let's work to try to actually achieve that goal. As previous speakers have stated, I believe very much in this resolution. I think it's a very key step in doing what we have said we do for many, many years. Since the DEI B Committee drafted the land acknowledgement, I think it is a very powerful and tangible and practical way to do so within a system that does work and will continue to work. I urge vote yes.
Seeing that as that was debate in the positive, is there further debate in the negative? Is there further debate in the positive? Caucus Leader Kermer?
I guess I'm just a little frustrated and appalled that there even is debate on this. If you would scroll up just real quick. It does say resolution. So there is no binding statements within this piece of legislation. All this is putting support behind other students. This has nothing racist about anything. This is us voicing our opinion about supporting other students on campus. So I would implore you to really think about what some of the last debates mentioned. And I would implore you to vote yes on this because it's just supporting other students.
Seeing as that was debate in the positive, is there further debate in the negative? Is there further debate in the positive? Chair Long?
I like to plan parties and get-togethers and D&D sessions. I'm also a very nervous person. So what I do is I text everybody that I want to be there to ask them if they can go before I add them to a group chat, ask them if I can go. So by the time I actually ask them to go to the thing, I already know they're all going to say yes. I've done all the prep work for no darn good reason. So the actual act of preparing is not needed at all. That's what we're asking them to do by saying we haven't done the legwork. Have you actually accomplished the goal before you're asking them to do about it? We do not need to have everything put together to put forward our opinion. This is saying this is something we want to do. Not that this is a solution we are doing. We've done a lot of splitting of hairs, I feel, over Pell Grant eligibility and try to interpret what a Pell Grant is and what it's eligible for. And I love numbers, but listing the exact number of what a Pell Grant's going to do and covering is not useful to this argument, I feel. If the worst thing we do tonight is pass a resolution saying that we support Native American students and feel that they should be assisted at our university, I'm fine with that. Please vote yes.
Seeing as that was debate in the positive, is there further debate in the negative? And is there further debate in the positive? Is there any further debate at all? Oh, is there on the Zoom?
Hey, would the authors be open to additional recipients as a friendly amendment, or would I need to fill out an amendment form?
No, additional recipients is fine. If you just email them to Brady.
Perfect.
Can we hear who they are?
Yeah, do you want to list them really fast?
Sure. So first is Chris Shoemaker, Associate Director for Scholarships in the Office of Student Financial Assistance. And then also adding Vice President for Administration and Finance, Ethan Erickson, and Senior Vice President and Chief of Staff, Marshall Stewart.
Okay, thank you. Is there any further debate at all? Seeing none, we will move into a hand vote. Chair Lynn.
I move that we do a roll call vote on whatever this number is.
Second.
Resolution 47.
Yes.
So raise your placards if you are in favor of a roll call vote. That is enough hands. So we will move into a roll call vote on Resolution 47.
Atchison. Bellamy.
Yes.
Biggs.
No.
Blood.
Yes.
Broughton.
Yeah.
Bruckner.
Yes.
Koch.
Yes.
Compton.
Yes by proxy.
Cuesta.
Yes.
Cup.
Yeah.
Dennis.
Yes.
Dratz.
Yes.
Dunce.
No.
Fogel.
Yes.
Glasscock.
Yes.
Griffith.
Abstain.
Haynes,
Yes.
Hartzell, Heatherman,
Abstain.
Heseltine,
Yes.
Hoffmans,
Yes by proxy.
Hulse,
No.
Hunley,
Abstain.
Jacobson,
No.
Kirchen, Kidd, Kermer,
Yes.
Kinsey,
No.
Lilly, Long,
Yes.
Lynn,
Pass.
Mason,
Yes.
Melcher,
Pass.
Moore, O'Malley,
Yes.
Oury,
I'll go with yes.
Pelton,
Abstain.
Peterson,
Abstain by proxy.
Porter,
Yes.
Rios,
Yes.
Rivard, Rodriguez Melendez, Rogers, Syed Carly,
Yes.
Syed Nick,
Yes.
Salmon,
Yes.
Streetman, Strunk,
Abstain.
Sushanik,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Winger,
Abstain by proxy?
Wolf,
No.
Zapko.
Yes by proxy.
Going back to passes. Dunce,
No.
Hartzell, Kidd, Lilly, Lynn,
Yes.
Melcher,
Abstain.
okay. Resolution 23-24-47 will pass on a vote of 29 to 6 to 9.
Okay, we will move on to Resolution 23-24-50. This was referred out favorably 7 to 0 to 0. Will the author please come forward? Have any changes been made?
Yes. So instead of Mental Health Day, we changed it to Wildcat Pause Day in most cases. And then we added a whereas clause in line 32 and 33 stating that the Architecture Planning and Design College provides first-year students with a mental health day during the fall semester.
Okay, you have first rights to debate.
All right, so Okanogan Charter, woot woot, makes me happy. So with that, we are officially a health promoting university. And so with that, we should be able to have a mental health day, or at least promote this mental health day in a way to kind of give students a break. Because I know the more students I've talked to, the more I realize people want a break. People want to go home. And so having a break, I was wrong, I did make one more change, sorry. Instead of just Friday of 8, 9, or 10, it'll be Monday or Friday of 7, 8, and 9. I forgot about that one, have to admit. Anyway, and so I think it's just really important that we show support for ourselves and for other students, because I know burnout is real. We're college students, we know this. But in order to kind of help alleviate some of that, because I know some people are just like, I just can't go to class because I'm like so behind, I'm so stressed. So giving them this day to like look forward to, because I know early October, it's like I don't really want to look to mid-November for a break because it just seems so far away. So giving that time in the middle of October, just that one day, can help kind of students like push through it and then have a day to relax, catch up, take a break, be with friends, go home, do whatever they need to do in order to kind of rest and relax. Also, I have talked with upper administration, and they are all, or at least most of them, they are all in support of it so far, and I have 2 more meetings tomorrow. Woot woot, anyway. So I encourage you guys to vote yes on this, because I think it's necessary that students promote the well-being for students.
Seeing as that was debate in the positive, is there debate in the negative? Senator Oury?
Just a question of privilege.
Yeah.
Where are we getting this day from? Are we taking it out of Thanksgiving or what holidays?
Whatever buffer days.
Okay. So it will be a buffer day.
Yeah, it says in the resolution that it's a buffer day.
Okay, good.
Yep. Seeing as that was debate in the positive, is there debate in the negative? Is there further debate in the positive? And is there any further debate at all? Seeing none, we'll go into a hand vote on Resolution 50. All those in favor, please raise your placards now. Proxies raised too. All opposed, same sign. The Resolution 50 will stand approved. Next up, we have Resolution 232451, recommendation regarding maintenance and delivery vehicles. This was referred out favorably 7 to 0 to 0. Will the author please come forward? Have any changes been made?
Yeah, a couple additions in the section, the Be It Resolved sections after talking with committee members and Senate oversight. We decided that, so I got an email back from Casey Lauer finally, talking about how this could be implemented into the new campus master plan. So that's really kind of the angle that I wanted to take with this. But with the sections, we added in there that strict speed limits be put in place if a maintenance or delivery vehicle must use a sidewalk. I also mentioned in there the idea of creation of a central receiving area for deliveries. And then I added a few of the recipients, including key members on the new campus master plan committee.
Okay, you have first rights to debate.
Yeah, so this really stemmed from my walk I would take to the leadership building from Seton Hall every Tuesday and Thursday. I would try going across Mid-Campus Drive where it's a sidewalk from Bluemont to the leadership building. And just the amount of work vehicles, semi-trucks, delivery trucks driving up and down Mid-Campus Drive at around like noon on Tuesday and Thursday is a little crazy to me, especially when that is a designated sidewalk. And then just watching all of the students either walking or bikes try to dodge those oncoming semi-trucks. So I just think it's a little ridiculous that any car should be driving on a designated sidewalk. And this is just trying to ensure the safety of all students while walking on campus.
Thank you. Seeing as that was debate in the positive, is there any debate in the negative? Chair Blood.
So I agree with the premise overall that there should be a walkable campus and it should be safe for us to walk across campus in any way from one side to another. However, I'm a little interested in how the authors and sponsors of this bill want to deal with the $430 million of deferred maintenance on campus, as well as continuing to keep up the facilities that exist on campus without having delivery vehicles and work vehicles traverse certain areas of campus. There are certain, previous speaker called them sidewalks. When I look, they appear to be private roads that are blocked off. There's sidewalks next to them as well. It says for approved vehicles only when you walk by Mid-Campus Drive. And those are areas for those vehicles to go. And I don't find it to make too much sense that our maintenance and delivery workers should have to work outside 9 to 3 in order for our campus to continue running and continue to work. For example, if there were to be a water main or heating break on any one of those campus buildings across that area, would they have to traverse on foot with all of their materials during that time? Or would we just close the building during class hours, cancel class, and wait, and then also pay the additional amount of money to have them come in after their business hours. I get the intention to, keep campus walkable and to somewhat safe, but I think it really misses the ability for us to serve students and to continue to keep up with our facilities on campus without placing an increased burden both upon the university and their contractors. And so I urge you to vote no.
Seeing as that was debate in the negative, is there further debate in the positive? Commissioner Saya.
So to begin with, I was actually really persuaded by the negative debate because I think we have a pretty significant maintenance issue on this campus, and it's really difficult to handle those problems without a lot of equipment. And I know just how expensive those renovations already are. But I was remembering the first version of the bill that was presented to us, which said that between 9 and 3, we shouldn't have these vehicles. And I think the version that's on the floor now is actually a lot more nuanced, and I think is a much more effective statement for us as students to make, which is that that sort of activity should be prioritized outside of high demand student hours. The negative debate basically surrounds one point, which is, what about this important activity that requires these vehicles? What about this other important activity that requires these vehicles? The truth is, we can do that all day and decide, oh, this specific function or this specific function is important enough to justify compromising pedestrian space for a vehicle. And I think the problem that we have is that today, people are making that decision about what's more important than pedestrian space. Whatever maintenance or delivery vehicles are up to now, to them, what they're doing is more important. They have an important function to complete, and they feel that their work is necessary. You can make those sort of gray decisions, and I think that everyone has a way of justifying that whatever they're delivering or whatever they're working on is important in that moment. But we have a very different responsibility, which is that we can decide whether to think those things are important or whether students walking safely is more important to us during peak hours. And to me, that decision is always going to be based on what's safest for the person walking, who is the most vulnerable to maintenance and delivery vehicles, and who elected me to represent them. So I'm voting yes.
Caucus Leader Kermer.
Point of information, I forgot to mention that the 9 to 3 was striked from this current version, just to allow the sponsors to decide what peak hours actually are.
Awesome. Seeing as that was debate in the positive, is there further debate in the negative? Is there further debate in the positive? Chair Broughton. Yes.
The point of this resolution was not to prevent maintenance and delivery workers from doing the job that we've asked them to do here. It is just to prompt them to be more aware of their actions and aware of that they could cause damage to the students walking on campus. And so we've proposed a couple of things within this resolution that they could consider to do such a thing. And so I urge you to vote yes.
Seeing as that was debate in the positive, is there any debate in the negative? Is there further debate in the positive? Senator Griffith.
As the previous speaker has stated, this resolution is about making sure that delivery vehicles and maintenance vehicles are more aware of their surroundings, and that is definitely something I would like, as earlier this semester I was almost hit by a maintenance vehicle. Sure, I didn't exactly look both ways while crossing Mid-Campus Drive between Durland Rathbone and on my way to Bluemont, but when the entire area was teeming with students walking in every which direction, I didn't expect a maintenance vehicle to come speeding out of a blind spot, going who knows where. I was about 5 feet away from being meat on the pavement. And so, not to mention that I was not the only student at risk for being hit by a maintenance vehicle in that very specific situation, which I would not wish on anybody. And so being able to, for our maintenance vehicles and delivery vehicles to be a lot more aware of their surroundings so that they don't strike an unwitting student. While sure, the free tuition would have been nice, it would not have been nice enough to warrant a broken arm. So I urge you to vote yes on the resolution.
Seeing as that was debate in the positive, is there any debate in the negative? Is there further debate in the positive? And is there any further debate at all? Seeing none, we will go into a hand vote on Resolution 51. All those in favor, please raise your placards now. Proxies raised 2. All opposed, same sign. Okay, that will stand approved. We will now move on to Resolution 232452. This was referred out favorably, 7-0 to 0. Will the author please come forward? Have any changes been made?
A couple of small grammatical changes. On line 16, peer institutions was changed to academic institutions because peer institutions is a specific term that does not apply here. Some of the university ordering was changed around on lines 16 through 18 to provide better narrowing. On line 27, the word "the" was added, and on line 45, Shad Huffnagel's given title was changed to better fit with other legislation going through SGA right now. So I believe that's it.
You have first rights to debate.
Yeah, so this legislation is intended to help connect the people working on campus to try to get edible landscaping on campus grounds with administration, and to try to raise this issue and this initiative up to higher levels so that when students who are seeking funding and seeking permission for this, and faculty who are helping to promote this go to administration, they're not left, blind as to what this is and blind as to what the initiatives are. Right now, K-State has a strategic plan which focuses or has some areas of opportunity in promoting food security and promoting sustainability, environmental sustainability on campus. And this particular initiative is very good for that set of opportunities. And I think that this resolution is very important for showing that SGA is not simply saying be more sustainable on campus. We're saying here are specific ways that you can do this, and here are initiatives that SGA is supporting and that the student body is supporting to help create a more sustainable campus. And so I urge you to vote yes.
Seeing as that was debate in the positive, is there a debate in the negative? Is there further debate in the positive? And is there any further debate at all? Seeing none, we'll move into a hand vote on Resolution 52. All in favor, please raise your placards now. Proxies raised 2. All opposed, same sign. Okay, that resolution will pass. We are now moving into introduction of legislation. First up, we have Bill 232450, continuation of counseling and psychological student services fee agreement. Chair Lynn.
I move to allow the author to summarize on bills 50, 51, 52, and 53.
Second.
Can I get a motion to...
I move to consider Bill 50.
Second.
I'll do it in shared.
Will the author please come forward?
I will still be reading the whereas clauses, but I don't think you want to hear me read 8 pages of contract language, so we'll just stick to numbers for that part. Bill 50, first one, continuation of the Counseling and Psychological Services Student Services Fee Agreement, author myself, sponsor Student Services Fee Committee. Whereas Counseling and Psychological Services, CAPS, is the primary mental health resource for Kansas State University, KSU students, and provides therapy, consultation, and referral information for the KSU family. Whereas the Student Services Fee Committee review caps during the scheduled 3 years review cycle. Whereas the Student Services Fee Committee is committed to the financial well-being of the student services fee and maximizing the value provided to students. Whereas Kansas State University and the Kansas State University Student Governing Association, KSUSGA, have begun to reallocate financial resources to prioritize student health and well-being. Whereas on November 14th, 2022, the Student Services Fee Committee voted to review the CAPS FY24 budget out of the normal 3-year cycle. Whereas Bill 222369 increased the CAPS budget by $251,636. Whereas this budget took effect on July 1, 2023. Whereas the Student Services Fee Committee determined this budget has not been in effect long enough to gauge sufficiency. Whereas the Student Services Fee Committee believes that the recency of the budget change justifies a continuance to allow CAPS to analyze the effects of the increase. And whereas the Student Services Fee has not yet voted, so it says that. Being enacted, this contract, we are recommending a 0% change to CAPS. So it is staying the same. Its current budget level of $926,711 for the next 3 fiscal years.
Are there any questions or corrections for the author? Seeing none, you may thank you.
I'm just going to stand here.
Next up, we have Bill 232451. Is there a motion to consider? Chair Cuesta.
I move to consider Bill 51.
Second. Awesome. Bill 51, continuation. They're gone, but this is a weird order for them. Oh, I see. Never mind. Continuation of Wildcat Watch Equipment Reserve Student Services Fee Agreement. Kate, would you add a space after fee in that title? Author myself, sponsor Student Services Fee Committee. Whereas the Student Services Fee Committee reviewed the request of Wildcat Watch equipment during the scheduled review cycle. Whereas the Student Services Fee Committee is committed to the financial well-being of the student services fee and maximizing the value provided to students. Whereas Wildcat Watch provides video production services to student organizations and student-centered events free of charge. Whereas Wildcat Watch's equipment budget is employed to replace aging and broken equipment used for video production and live streaming services. Whereas Wildcat Watch has a thorough equipment replacement schedule that uses the equipment line item yearly. Whereas the Student Services Fee Committee believes that Wildcat Watch should continue to replace equipment and utilize its budget based on this schedule to best provide services. Whereas if a substantial piece of equipment were required, Wildcat Watch could approach SGA for a special grant allowance. Whereas the Student Services Fee Committee believes that Wildcat Watch will still provide adequate services to students with a budget continuation, and whereas the Student Services Fee has not yet voted, so it says that. Being enacted, this contract, we are not changing their budget, recommending a continuance. It will stay at $5,000 for the next 3 fiscal years.
Are there any questions or corrections for the author? Seeing none, thank you. Next up, we have Bill 232452. Senator Griffith.
I move to consider Bill 52.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded.
Nice. Bill 52, increase the Student Health Services Fee Agreement. Authors myself, sponsors, surprisingly, the Student Services Fee Committee. Whereas Student Services Fee Committee reviewed the request of student health in their FY24 regular review. Whereas the Student Services Fee Committee is committed to the financial well-being of the Student Services Fee and maximizing the value provided to students. Whereas the Kansas State University and the Kansas State University Student Governing Association, KSUSGA, have begun to reallocate financial resources to prioritize student health and well-being. Whereas Student Health funds Lafine Health Center, which provides a nationally ranked outpatient health care system to the student body. Whereas Lafine Health Center provides services to students including reduced cost medication, free visit with providers, and discounted services such as physical therapy, allergy injections, etc. Whereas the Student Services Fee Committee extensively reviewed the utilization, market price comparisons, financial situation, and budget reduction scenarios of Lafine Health Center. Whereas if Lafine Health Center's current student services fee allocation remains the same, there will be significant service reductions such as reduced operating hours and treatment options due to the lack of qualified staff. Whereas Lafine Health Center's student services fee allocation decreased in FY23 by 18% and decreased in FY24 by 20%, causing significant budget constraints. Whereas during the course of the review, it was made known to the committee that increased operating costs will inevitably require Lafine Health Center to raise student costs. Whereas the Student Services Fee Committee believes it prudent to offset the increased costs to students as much as fiscally responsible, and whereas the Student Services Fee has not voted yet, so it says that. Be it enacted that this contract, we are raising their allocation by 3%, about $137,000 to $4,676,415 for all 3 years. So an increase in this next year, and then a 0% change for the following 2 years for that $4.67 million budget.
Are there any questions or corrections for the author?
One more.
Seeing none, thank you. We will move on to Bill 53. Senator Glasscock.
I move to consider Bill 53.
Increase in the Wildcat Operations Student Services Fee Agreement. Author myself, sponsor Student Services Fee Committee. Whereas the Student Services Fee Committee reviewed the request of Wildcat Watch operations during the scheduled review cycle. Whereas the Student Services Fee Committee is committed to the financial well-being of the Student Services Fee and maximizing the value provided to students. Whereas the Student Services Fee Committee reviewed the utilization and financial expenditures of Wildcat Watch. Whereas Wildcat Watch provides video production services to student organizations and student-centered events free of charge. Whereas Wildcat Watch also works with Kansas State University KSU departments and the Manhattan community to provide video production and live streaming services for a fee. Whereas in FY23, Wildcat Watch produced more than 25 live events and 75 individual videos for KSU student organizations. Whereas in FY23, Wildcat Watch student employees worked 30% more than the previous year and created an average of 2.5 videos per week. Whereas, as of October 2023, Wildcat Watch Operations is actively utilizing a $14,911.61 surplus. Whereas, if Wildcat Watch continues to provide the same level of service, their surplus will be depleted prior to the next scheduled review cycle. Whereas, depletion of the surplus will require Wildcat Watch to reduce the number of projects they accept and will negatively impact the employment and professional development of the student staff as well as the departments and groups that depend on their services. Whereas, traditionally scaled increases are not impactful due to budget size, whereas a $4,000 increase will help Wildcat Watch maintain their current service level, and whereas the student service fee has not voted yet, so it says that. Be it enacted the following contract, we are increasing their allocation by $4,000 or 22.22% in the next year, and then I'll say the same for the following 2 years, so it'll be a budget of $22,000 for the next 3 fiscal years, up from 18.
Are there any questions or corrections for the author?
Thank you.
Seeing none, thank you. We will now move on to Resolution 232456, recommendations to KSU regarding gender-neutral restrooms. Do I have a motion? Coxeter Kidd.
I move to
Consider.
consider this legislation.
Resolution 56.
Sorry.
Thank you so much, Coxeter Kidd. Is there a second?
Second.
Sorry.
Awesome. Thanks, Marcus. Resolution 232456, recommendations to KSU regarding gender-neutral restrooms. Authors Peyton Lynn, sponsors Kate Thomas. Whereas Kansas State University Student Governing Association is dedicated to a future at Kansas State University where every student is able to safely express their gender identity and has access to LGBTQ+ friendly spaces at KSU. Whereas during the fall 2023 semester, the KSU SGA Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging Committee reviewed 28 buildings on the KSU Manhattan campus for gender-neutral restroom availability. Whereas the detailed results of the review can be found in the full report 2023 Student Review of Physical and Gender Accessibility in Academic and Student Life Buildings on the Kansas State University Manhattan campus created by the DEIB Committee. Whereas the DEIB Committee found that 57% of reviewed buildings had no single stall or gender-neutral restrooms, and 63% of the buildings that did contain a gender-neutral or single stall restroom did not have clear labeling. Whereas, in order to create safe space for students who prefer a gender-neutral option, the K-State Union transitioned a traditional gendered restroom to a gender-neutral restroom during the 2022-2023 academic year. Whereas what used to be labeled as a women's restroom on the first floor of the K-State Union was easily made into a gender-neutral restroom with no construction or physical changes to the space itself. Rather, the gendered women's restroom sign outside of the restroom was replaced with a new sign that does not delineate a specific gender. Whereas similar solutions may be used in other buildings at KSU in order to offer a gender-neutral restroom option without the need for significant physical changes, and whereas KSU SGA encourages the university to prioritize the accessibility of gender-neutral and/or single-stall restrooms for students who may not feel comfortable using a restroom with a male or female designation. Be it resolved that Section 1, the Kansas State University Student Governing Association urges Kansas State University to prioritize the following actions to improve the accessibility of gender-neutral restrooms in all facilities at KSU. 1, creating clear signage and labeling to identify where within a building gender-neutral restrooms can be found. 2, designating at least one restroom in every building on campus where a gender-neutral or single-stall restroom is not currently available to be gender-neutral. Section 3. That's supposed to be section 2. Upon passage by the Student Senate and signature of the student body president, a copy of this resolution and the 2023 Student Review of Physical and Gender Accessibility in Academic and Student Life Buildings on the Kansas State University Manhattan campus report shall be sent to the Spectrum Center Coordinator, Dr. Brandon Haddock, Biosecurity Research Institute Director of Facility Management, Eric Montgomery, K-State Athletics Associate Athletic Director for Facilities, Jason Brummett, K-State Union Executive Director, Corey Williamson, Alumni Center Manager, Greg Akins, Associate Vice President for Facilities, Casey Lauer, Associate Vice President for Community Building, Dr. Derek Jackson, Vice President for Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging, Dr. Randa Johnson, Vice President for Academic Success and Student Affairs and Dean of Students, Dr. Thomas Lane, and University President, Dr. Richard Linton.
Are there any questions or corrections for the author other than changing section 3 to section 2? We got that fixed. Are there questions or corrections for the author? Seeing none, thank you. We will move on to Resolution 232457, recommendations to KSU regarding physical accessibility. Senator Griffith.
I move to consider Resolution 57. Second.
Will the author please come forward?
Perfect. Resolution 232457, recommendations to KSU regarding physical accessibility. Whereas the Kansas State University Student Governing Association is dedicated to a future at Kansas State University where every student is able to access the resources they need and are not hindered in their educational experience due to a physical disability. Whereas during the fall 2023 semester, the KSU SGA DEIB Committee reviewed 28 buildings on the KSU Manhattan campus for physical accessibility concerns. Whereas this review determined physical accessibility based on the following criteria: clear labeling for accessible building entrances, availability of push-button automatic doors, number of wheelchair-accessible entrances, obstructions near the outside of a building, availability of elevators where applicable, doorknob shape, and availability and labeling of wheelchair-accessible restrooms. Whereas the detailed results of this review can be found in the full report, 2023 Student Review of Physical and Gender Accessibility in Academic and Student Life Buildings on the Kansas State University Manhattan campus, created by the DEIB Committee. Whereas the DEIB Committee found that 35% of reviewed buildings did not have clear labeling of accessible entrances, 46 did not have push-button automatic doors at the main entrance, and 39% had main entrances that required the use of stairs. Whereas the DEIB Committee found that 10% of the reviewed buildings had 0 wheelchair-accessible entrances, and 57% had only 1 wheelchair-accessible entrance. Whereas the DEIB Committee found that 20% of reviewed buildings with more than 1 floor had no working elevator, and 46% had a majority of doors with round doorknobs. Whereas the DEIB Committee found that 10% of the reviewed buildings did not have any wheelchair-accessible restrooms, and 64% did not have clear labeling for the accessible restrooms that were available. Whereas these results highlight a need for change to ensure that all students are able to access the buildings and resources on campus that they need. And whereas, while full compliance with the Americans with Disability Act in all buildings on the KSU campus is the ideal outcome, KSU SGA acknowledges that this would require significant costs and resources that may not be immediately available. Be it resolved that Section 1. The Kansas State University Student Governing Association urges Kansas State University to prioritize the following actions regarding physical accessibility in all facilities at KSU. Creating clear signage and labeling to identify where on a building the accessible entrances can be found. Creating clear signage and labeling to identify where within a building wheelchair-accessible restrooms can be found. Repairing potholes or uneven sidewalks on campus pathways. Ensuring that existing elevators are fully functioning and prioritizing swift maintenance when necessary. Where applicable, replacing round doorknobs in campus facilities with lever doorknobs. Where applicable, ensuring that main entrances to campus buildings have an automatic door with a handicap push button or other accessible alternative. Ensuring that major renovations or new building construction yields results that are ADA compliant. Section 2. Upon passage by the Student Senate and signature of the Student Body President, a copy of this resolution and the 2023 Student Review of Physical and Gender Accessibility in Academic and Student Life Buildings on the Kansas State University Manhattan campus report shall be sent to the Student Access Center Director, Dr. Jason Maysberg Tomlinson, Biosecurity and Research Institute Director of Facility Management, Eric Montgomery, K-State Athletics Associate Athletic Director for Facilities, Jason Brummett, K-State Union Executive Director Corey Williamson, Alumni Center Manager Greg Akins, Associate Vice President for Facilities Casey Lauer, Associate Vice President for Community Building Dr. Jarek Jackson, Vice President for DEIB Dr. Randa Johnson, Vice President for Academic Success and Student Affairs and Dean of Students Dr. Thomas Lane, and University President Dr. Richard Linton.
Are there any questions or corrections for the author? Seeing none, thank you. We will now move on to Resolution 232458. Will the author please come forward? Senator Koch.
I move to consider Resolution 58.
Second.
Now will the author please come forward?
Sorry, give me one sec. I'm trying to figure out the system here. Resolution 232458, authors Jyothi, because I can never say her full name. Yeah, please, anybody who can pronounce. Like,
Lakshmi Clark Hall.
Thank you.
No, that's still wrong. Clarkial.
Jyothi Kalarkial. Kalarikial. And Jacob Brown. Sorry, I'm really bad at pronouncing things. Sponsors, the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging Committee, Peyton Lynn, Caleb Stout, and Jess Binkley. Whereas the international student community has expressed the difficulties of arriving through international travel to the United States, the U.S., and to Kansas State University, KSU. Whereas the international students have received conflicting dates and instructions for arrival to the U.S. and KSU from admissions and housing and dining, as well as the respective departments and representatives thereof. Whereas it is KSU housing and dining policy to require both the lease contract and energy contract to be established upon arrival at KSU to access student housing, whereas many international students are unable to establish Evergy accounts while outside of the U.S. or without a U.S. SIM card, whereas many international students arrive to the U.S. and KSU after business hours, on holidays, and over weekends, whereas this results in an inability to access housing in Jardine, which causes students to be turned away with no university-assisted solution for housing, whereas this results in students spending their own time, money, and resources finding emergency housing, and whereas this poses a serious risk to the students' safety, mental well-being, financial security, and impacts their overall first experience at KSU, be it resolved that Section 1, the Kansas State University Governing Association formally requests and supports that the Kansas State University Department of Housing and Dining Services and the Office of Recruitment and Admissions work to establish 48-hour emergency housing options for international students and scholars so that no one is turned away from housing without alternatives. Section 2, the Kansas State University Department of Housing and Dining Services and the Office of Recruitment and Admissions should establish more efficient communication and training practices of both part-time, full-time, and student staff to ensure that international students' transition to KSU is conducive to a positive and safe learning environment. Section 3, upon the passage of the Student Senate and signature of the Student Body President, a copy of this legislation shall be sent to the Director of Housing and Dining Services, Michael Crow, Assistant Director for Contracts and Occupancy Management, Kathy Van Steens, Access Director for Student Living, Nick Lander, Assistant Director for Residential Services, Alex Trout, Executive Director of Recruitment and Admissions, Patrick Winter, Director of Admissions, Molly McGaffey, and Assistant Director of International Recruitment and Admissions, Rafael Alvarado. I'm really bad at pronouncing names. I'm sorry, guys. Graduate Admissions Coordinator Joe Horan, International Graduate Admissions Specialist Teresa Bauman, Executive Director of Student Health and Wellbeing Services Wendy Nicholson, Assistant Director of Student Success Dr. Megan Miller, Director of International Student and Scholar Services Dr. Sarah Thurston, Associate Director of International and Scholar Services Mary Beebe, Associate Vice President for Community Building, Dr. Derek Jackson, and Vice President for Academic Success and Student Affairs and Dean of Students, Dr. Thomas Lane.
Are there questions or corrections for the author? Seeing none, thank you. Okay, seeing as we've exhausted introduction of legislation, we will move into second open period. Do you have any speakers for second open period? Senator Dennis.
Hi, everyone. I know it's the end of the semester, and I know we want to be out of here, so just a quick request. So one of the classes I am taking next semester is called Creative Drama. We only have about 4 students enrolled right now. For your K-State 8, it would count towards your aesthetic interpretation if you would be so interested. It's just a class of, that generally undergraduates take, but it is offered in the drama therapy department. It's a fun class. We do a performance for kids at the Manhattan Public Library at the end of the semester. So we need about 6 to 10 more people. If you would like to take that or know anybody else who would, you can send them my way, and I'd be happy to talk to them because my professor did task me with recruiting more people. Thank you so much, and y'all have a great end of your semester.
Do I have any questions? Yes. Does anybody have any? Are there any questions for the speaker? Thank you. Are there further second open period speakers? President Stout.
I just wanted to provide a little bit more context for my statements about like making legwork and doing the research and stuff that goes into a bill before we bring it to the floor. It seems that it's been misinterpreted a little bit, but let me take it from my perspective. I've been approached numerous times by different administrators, members of faculty senate, etc. And Speaker Thomas, I think, would agree, where they're not upset about things that we pass, but they are caught off guard, and that the initial reaction when they are caught off guard is not one of, yes, I want to come to the table and work with students, but it's one of defensiveness, and it's they close themselves off to working with us before they should, just because they feel like this is something done behind their back, under their nose, insert other metaphors. But I'm not saying you need to have all of these policies instituted and passed before you bring something into the Senate. But I think it does go a lot further, and we can be a lot more productive if we do have some of these conversations, get some real information, get some other perspectives on it, then we can build more well-rounded stuff. I totally agree. It's not our job to figure everything out. They get paid a lot more money to do that kind of stuff. But it is important for us to be passing legitimate, workable things. Otherwise, we will, over time, just really discredit ourselves. If we're just throwing stuff out that's just going to get disregarded by the people who actually have the power to institute it. So work with them a little bit, hear them out. And if your concern is you're going to go meet with people and they don't want to meet with you because you're just a student senator, that's when it can be beneficial to work with cabinet, where they already have established relationships with these people. So again, I'm not saying that you guys need to pass everything before you actually come in here, but I think we will see a lot more productivity and effectiveness if we do just a little bit more work, a little bit more research before the fact. Does that make sense?
Are there questions for the speaker? Caucus Leader Kidd.
Yeah, and this is more of like a question of privilege, just a process. So in general, and I'm old, so I shouldn't think I should this, but I don't, so that's why I'm asking. In general, when we pass legislation that has like been enacted that X people get a copy of it, and what medium do they get copies of this legislation? Is it like a hard copy, like campus mail, or is it like carrier pigeon, or email?
Yeah, it depends on the type of legislation. Brady is the one who sends all of those out.
Yeah, so if it's a commendation to like a staff member, they get it physically. If it's a resolution of something that like SGA is saying, then I send that out as an email. Legislation is attached in the email, and it has a little bit of like foreground of all that kind of stuff. So that's usually how they're sent out.
Follow up.
Granted.
All right. So then, when you're approached, speaker comments, and what medium are you all approached? Is it just through email, like what the heck is this, or is it Teams or Slack or text or phone call?
Approached by who?
Just the administrators that were just mentioned in your piece.
So I think that in my case anyway, I am typically interact with faculty in either regular meetings that I have with Dr. Lane, with Dr. Jackson, but also with, I'm a voting member of Faculty Senate and Faculty Senate Exec, so that is where I do a lot of my interfacing with those individuals.
Yeah, and mine can be face-to-face in Faculty Senate, or also it can work its way up through the exec chain from maybe a member of cabinet was meeting with an administrator and they said, hey, I got this. I'm a little confused what this is. Can you tell me about it? And then they come back to me, and yeah.
Thank you.
Are there further questions for the speaker? Seeing none, thank you. Are there further second open period speakers? Seeing none, we will move on to Senate shoutouts.
Right. Shout out to the Architecture Caucus for being a powerhouse in SGA. Shout out to Brad, best farmhouse pledge I know. Shout out to Ben. I texted Marta and she is very proud of you. Shout out to Tits and Tats. Shout out to dancing. Shout out to Jacob talking about the crops team at 100 miles per hour. Shout out to Jacob reading incredibly fast. Shout out to the holiday vibes tonight. Shout out to RJ. He speaks for the trees. Shout out to Jacob's here for Bill 35. Shout out to Jacob saying here to Bill 35. Shout out to here. Shout out to Anna for saying that the Dean of APD will get over it. Shout out to Farmhouse for getting their final composite. That was really nice. It took a really long time. Just some background. Yeah. Shout out to the shock in the room. Shout out to Brandon for being a boss boy. Shout out to Jacob for speaking facts about overthinking everything. Shout out to Dolly Parton. She didn't do anything with us. I just think she deserves it. Shout out to Wildcat Pause Day, because we all need a break sometimes. Shout out to Woot Woot. Shout out to Jack for looking great like always. Shout out to Jolien for surviving his assassination attempt by K-State faculty. Shout out to not looking both ways before crossing the street. Shout out to the safety and protection of Jolien. Shout out to Derek Jackson for providing free tuition to students who get hit by a vehicle on campus. Shout out to almost getting run over on campus. We love life. Shout out to being 5 feet away from free tuition and expensive hospital bills. Shout out to Jack and Anna having a battle on who says second first. To contract law. We love contract law, and it has 6 exclamation points. Shout out to carrier pigeons. Shout out to carrier pigeons. There's 7. There's 7, just so you guys know. Shout out to Marcus Kids' innovative messaging suggestions. The Student Services Fee Committee will be investing $1.1 million in the state-of-the-art carrier pigeon starting And shout out to Senator Kidd for being the old one, so I don't have to be. And it has the less than and the 3. So it's like
Okay, thanks, Brady. We will now move on to reference of legislation. Bills 50, 51, 52, and 53 will go to the student services fee, and resolutions 50, they're labeled wrong, but 57, 58, and 59 will all go to the DEIB committee. Brady will take it away with our second roll call.
Atchison. Bellamy.
Here.
Biggs.
Here.
Blood.
Here.
Broughton.
Here.
Bruckner.
Here.
Koch.
Here.
Cuesta.
Here.
Cup. Dennis.
Here.
Drotz.
Here.
Dunce. Fogel.
Here.
Glasscock.
Here.
Griffith.
Still here.
Haynes.
Here.
Heatherman.
Here.
Hesseltine.
Here.
Hoffman.
Here.
Holtz.
Here.
Hundley.
Here.
Jacobson.
Here.
Kirchen. Kidd.
Here.
Kermer. Kinsey.
Here.
Lilly. Long.
Here.
Lynn.
Here.
Mason. Hey, please keep it quiet so I can hear everybody. Thanks. Melcher.
Here.
Moore. Here. O'Malley.
Here.
Oury.
Here.
Pelton. Porter.
Here.
Rios.
Here.
Rivard. Rodriguez Melendez. Rogers. Saya Carly.
Here.
Saya Nick.
Here.
Salmon.
Here.
Streetman. Strunk.
Here.
Sushanik.
Here.
West.
Here.
Wolf.
Here.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Is there a motion to adjourn? No, no one? Chair Lynn.
I move to adjourn until the second week of courses, classes in
Second.
January. Same time, same place. Second.
Are there any objections?
I love where
I love